Hi, Mel here with Mindbeam. This channel was created to empower autism spectrum and ADHD learners to learn to love themselves and their amazing brains. We focus on learning how to learn through DIY craft, art, design, and play, and we're so happy you're here. Here are those eyes. This is the eyes of our magic sensory table box. Let's just take this apart. Something called reverse engineering, where engineering is, design and figuring out how to make something work or how something needs to be put together in a good, structural, strong way that's safe and that will work in the way that we need to, using different parts and materials. And we can reverse that process and undo it so that we can learn about how things are made. And so let's start here. So we're gonna take these things out, and I'm not gonna show you every single part of what I did, but I'm gonna show you parts of what I did so that you can get an idea and explore and discover on your own how you would like to make your box. This is just one example, and you can use my design, but you don't have to use exact measurements. You can make these parts and these spaces and these elements as small or as big as you would like. But I'll just give you some ideas of what I did. So this is another fun part of the sensory table box too, is you taking things apart, and you have cool shapes like that, which you're gonna see repeated a lot actually later. Now, this hedgehog, basically this thing has two sides. This is something I bought. I like to use as many sustainable or recycled and reused materials as possible. So I'm not able to do that for everything, but there's a lot that I have reused and can reuse based on materials that I've had hanging around, or reusing lots of packaging from boxes or things that I've had sent in the mail. This I bought, but you don't have to use this. You can find something at home that has a similar texture and place it there. So you can see I just planned out here. I started with a flat, which I'll show you here. And I'm just gonna rip this apart. So it's gonna look like I'm messing this up, and I kind of am, because we're learning from it. Okay, so flip this over, take the rest of these out so that we can see here. This is kind of fun to take things apart after you've built them. Okay, so this is pretty much what we started with here. Let's start with this little box. So here's the box. If you look here, what does this look like to you? You can take a guess at what you feel like, what you think this is, based on what it looks like. So yeah, this is a sponge. If you guessed, a sponge that I just cut in half. This is a fun, bright colored one with fun bunny ears that flip back and forth. I like that because I like to move things around. That's one of the sensory things that I like, is flipping and flopping things back and forth. And this is a very squishy material. This is spongy, and you can either use one part of this and stick it in, stick the bunny ears through, and push this up and just use one. It's squishier with 2 layers, so that's why I use 2 layers. So that's one part of our one element. And again, these clips you can use, I got these are used for displaying signs on tables. So I can tell you later in the description what these are exactly. But again, you don't need to use these clips. It's less weight. If you have something like this around, that's better. But I wanted to show an alternative way to hold this box down. And then I cut a hole here. And you can see here that this box is very similar to this. If I took this tape off here, off of each corner, this would be flat, and you can imagine that it would look very similar to this box, this bigger one. So that's pretty cool. This is like a shrinking version of this large one. So that's our squishy box right there, our squishy bunny box. And we have our sound element. If you know about a rain stick, then you might be familiar. It's a very long stick. There's different places in the world that use this, have used rain sticks in traditional ceremonies and things like that. And they make a really beautiful sound. So this is something that's similar to that. And we'll look at how this is made. So you can see here, this is some cardboard. We have some tape, and this tape, under this tape, there's a hole. And this is the place that I pour in the material, or whatever kind of material. You can use beans if you'd like, and kind of drop the beans in. Whatever material you think is going to be sounding good for a sensory interest of yours. So this is the hole that where you can put that material in, and make sure you get some really good tape to tape that hole shut so that it doesn't fall, so that the material doesn't fall out when you're using your rain stick. This is craft tape, is the kind of tape that I use there. And then we have, you can see the shape of this. There's two circles for this cylinder. So this is a cylinder shape, as many of you probably know. And we have a cylinder, two pieces of cardboard, circles, a rectangular small piece of cardboard, and then this tape is very good because it's very strong, be a great thing to hold this straw to our piece of cardboard. And then I just glued this cylinder onto a piece of cardboard, and I created a wheel and axle. So simple machine. If you're familiar with simple machines, one of them is a wheel and axle, like on a bike or a car or scooter. And this axle, there's no wheel here necessarily, but these two holes allow us to move this straw, which is also what shape, a cylinder, back and forth, and we can create a very simple mechanism using some simple materials. And then I have this stand that's flexible so that I can take this apart if I need to. So those are our elements here. And this is foam core. This is the same material that I used to make the box. And the foam core there's a smaller piece right here. This one's blue. Mine are black here, but you can use whatever color you'd like. If you want to make this more colorful, you can do that. You can even decorate these support beams. And we'll look later at how I created those. It's essentially just very simple rectangular shape. I cut those out. I used a hole punch to punch these holes so that it's very neat and clean. This is the hole punch, and it would allow our straw to fit through very easily. So this is a simple rectangle. This is another smaller rectangle, and we can make a support beam by gluing these two pieces together. And we made two of these. And to be sure that you have the correct size, again, you can make your rain stick as big as thick as you'd like, or you can't have it be much longer than this, because what will happen? Think about what will happen if it's a lot longer. Just take a minute to think about that. Yeah, eventually it would hit the base and it wouldn't actually move in the way we need it to. Or it wouldn't have as much space to have all of our material on the inside move all the way down and make that really cool sound. So that's a part of this element that I had to problem solve and really think about. How high do I want my this part? How high did I want these support beams? If I had it high like this, that could also work, right? But it wouldn't be necessarily as stable because it's really high and this is kind of thick and maybe a little heavy. So I wanted it to be a little closer, so these support beams to be a little shorter and still enough room for it to be able to go down and up like I want, and maybe even spin around if I wanted. So that's up to you. I'll show you in a minute how to make this cylinder. And then we have our squeeze animal. So again, you can use any kind of animal that you want or any kind of element that you want that makes sound. I liked putting this little friend, cut a hole here and putting this little friend on the inside of the hole, like as if it was a bunny dropping into its hole. A bunny going into its hole, and then you can squeeze it there. And these I made just very simply, again, using a bamboo skewer or a tip. So you can get, if you're a learner, you would want to have some help from an adult to maybe make these holes. So you can use a skewer like this. It's pointy at the end. It's the end of this one, but I cut these off and poke very gently through this foam core. This pokes through quite easily, just like that. And then you can make, using a pencil or even a straw, you can make a bigger hole like that, so that you can, your material, your textile, this material can fit through the hole very easily. And then I just use some cool aluminum metal tape. You don't have to use this, you can use whatever kind of tape you want. Even masking tape, there's masking tape that has designs on it, you can use that. I just wanted to have some more reinforcement or make it extra strong right here so that when we pull the cloth through many times over and over again, it wouldn't break on the inside. But this metal would help to keep it strong, or this tape would help to keep it strong so when we pull it in and out, it wouldn't tear. So I put 3 holes here. You can make as many holes as you want right here. You can also place these elements on any side that you would like. This is just what I chose. And then I have my eyes. So for my eyes, I just cut with paper cardstock. So heavier paper than just printer paper. You can also use printer paper. You can use actual googly eyes, or wiggle eyes, which we're gonna use a lot more of later. And just using a pen to color in a pen or a marker to color in your eyes, the pupils. And this is really fun. And then I use tape to create a way to stick my eyes inside of the hole and still use another piece of tape to cover the sticky part here so that it can stick on the inside but not be sticky here anymore. So basically you can do this in many different ways, but if I wanted it to be sticky on the inside right here, that would stick right there. And then I would have another piece of tape and tape that right there so that wasn't sticky anymore on that part. And then this part is still sticky, and this is where I would put my eyeball. So it would stick and it would be flexible and it could move in and out whenever I put my hands through here. So that's one solution. You can think about different ways of making your eyeballs flexible so that when you move your hands in and out, you don't rip it or it doesn't fall apart. And then this net I just cut a hole. Cut a hole here and made sure the hole was big enough that it could fit this ring on top of it and be glued down, not too small so that I couldn't fit the net into or fit a number of marbles inside of here, and not too big so that this whole thing would kind of go inside. So thinking about problem solving to see how big, and it doesn't have to be an exact measurement, but based on whatever material you use, it can be big enough to hold it and glue it down so that it's strong like that. And let's look at our spinning element right here. So from the inside, you can see here, this is from the inside. And I showed you earlier what it looked like on the inside before we began taking it apart and reverse engineering it. And that's a pretty cool thing to look at too. So this is the texture, this is the material that I chose, these little noodle, like soft noodles. So when you reach your hand inside here, when you reach your hand in here, you would feel this soft, noodly texture on the inside. And that's pretty cool. And again, you can use whatever material that feels good to you. And you can see our holes on the inside from our straws and our bamboo sticks and our straws. And you can see the bottom of my bunny on the inside of the box. And last, and here also you can see how what I was explaining to you about the tape. So taping on the inside, and this is the back side of the eyeball. So the sticky part on the eyeball, the sticky part on the box, and the front part is not sticky. So then we have this mechanism. So you can see a piece of cardboard that's a small circle and a straw for a handle. It's very simple. We can make a very simple mechanism. We don't need electricity to do that. And I have little brass fasteners, what this called. This holds things together. A fastener holds things together. A screw is a type of fastener. A nail is a type of fastener. This is a brass. This is a certain kind of metal. And it's very flexible and it can put lots of things together. We're going to be using that a lot. So that's what this is. So I measured out a small circle. You can use something to trace your circle, like this tape is a circle here that I could use to trace this size circle, or I can use this tool, which is called a compass, which you may know and be familiar with. It has a pencil on one side, has lots of wheels and axles. You can see here, there's about 1, 2, 3, 4 wheels and axles on this tool. This is a very cool tool, actually 5 because this spins too. And this has a point, it's a tip, and when we poke, we can use a ruler to measure the size. Some of you may have used this already, but this is a 2-inch circle. This is how wide the radius of the circle would be. So the radius is from the center point of the circle to the end of the circle. That's the radius. And we would poke this spike on the center point that, and then draw a circle like this. And this 2 inches here is 2 inches from here to here and 2 inches from here to here. This is the radius, and this whole thing is the diameter. And so this is a pretty small radius. You can see our circle. We didn't need it to be that big. So that one's pretty small. You can see it's about 1 inch. So this is like a 2-inch circle, 2-inch diameter circle. Now, on the other side, here's another circle. And again, we used cardboard for this. I didn't actually take this apart, but I can do that. So, here's this, and here's this. These are 2 pieces. Actually, there's like 3 pieces here, because there's this little piece of foam core that I put here so that this brass fastener could be glued to something. So when we spin it, this would spin on its own, this bigger part. And when we stick this inside one another, this brass fastener would come out of this side. And when we spin it, this would all move in one place. This would all move together as one piece. So you can think about what would happen if we did not have this brass fastener glued down onto this piece. What would happen if we did that? Just think about that. Would it actually function? When we spin it, when we spin this, would it actually move this larger piece? If so, why would that happen, or why not? So then we have, this is a heavy piece of cardboard. You can use different materials, but I used cardboard because I have a lot of it, and we're reusing the material. So you cut similar, you can use a compass, or you can trace the size circle that you would like and trace it on cardboard. That's one way to do a circle, as you may have practiced before, or you can use a compass if you want very specific measurements. So I wanted a larger one and drew my design. I have another piece of paper, a piece of hard cardstock that I glued onto the cardboard, created my design, and then I put these 2 things together inside of the larger Magic Sensory Box table. If you're enjoying this content, please hit the subscribe button below and the like button if you like this video, and the bell notification button to be reminded when we upload new videos.